Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wedgemount Resources channel. We're going to be talking about company updates, industry updates, introducing members of the team, and of course, answering any questions you guys got. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to send them over. And kicking us off for the first video is President, CEO, and Director Mark Vanry. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. So let's just hop into it. Let's paint a picture of yourself so people know who's kind of leading this company here. So let's start with your education. What really got you the spark for business?
Yeah, my background is in finance. I went to university and first studied history, and which was kind of an interest of mine from a young age. And then later on, I found it was probably difficult to have a successful business career with a history degree. So I went back later in my 20s and did my MBA, which really perked my interest for finance. I also had two older brothers who were both in business as well. One of them who worked in finance, one in consulting. So I developed an interest in finance at a fairly early age, and wanted to explore a career going that direction.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, of course, history is wonderful. There's tons of beautiful history that we've had over the years, but in terms of actually landing a really good career, business is definitely the way to go, and finance is a good choice. So then tell me then how you got involved with some of these companies. Tell me about your actual professional experience.
Yeah, after business school, I was really lucky. I got a job with Scotiabank in their international banking division down in Latin America. So when I left business school, I moved down to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Spent a year in San Juan, Puerto Rico with Scotiabank, and then moved throughout some of their other Latin American locations. Scotiabank's been down there for a very, very long time, and I was lucky enough to have a good introduction to, I guess you want to say, global finance. Working down there. After working in San Juan, I got a call from a former classmate of mine at the University of Western Ontario, and said he was working for a Canadian brokerage firm called Gopel McDermott, and he said that they had a need for someone to come over on the equity research side. And as much as I liked my job at Scotia down in Latin America, I always had the feeling that I wanted to work more directly in the equity markets or in the bond markets. And this was a good opportunity, talking to Gopel, to potentially get in those rather than working on the banking side. So I through a long kind of song and dance with the company, I ended up joining them, not to do research, but to do institutional equity sales. And I was very lucky that they wanted to open an office at the time in London, UK, and asked me to go and open an office for them there. So I switched at that point from banking to sales and trading. So I was in the process of opening an office for Gopel in London. This was right around 1999. And during that process, Gopel was acquired by Raymond James out of the US, obviously, I think now the largest independent investment dealer in the United States. And I was lucky enough to work for Ray J on their desk in London for 4 years. Subsequent to that, I left Raymond James in 2004 and joined Canaccord Genuity, and I ended up running their sales and trading in the United Kingdom. I was the managing director, ran a team of about 40 people on the trading desk over there. So that helped lead me into what I do today, because I have a finance background, neither a geologist nor an engineer, but we did raise significant capital for resource companies, in particular junior to intermediate mining companies. I really developed a passion for the business at that time. And after, I guess, 4 years in London, I moved back to Canada just subsequent to the financial crisis in 2008. And at that point, I decided I want to go off and do my own thing. And that's really when I started getting involved with junior resources company from the management side, from the building side, whether it be assets, people, money, structure. We've done all those things over the years, but that was really my introduction, was raising money for these companies. Then I came back and started to do it myself. So that was just over 10 years ago when I moved back to Vancouver and started Vanry Capital with my older brother, and we've done several resource companies since then.
Wow. Okay. So you've been a well-traveled man, and you were deep in the markets. Then you started touching on resources a little bit. Then you really sunk your teeth and got involved in the resources side. So then tell me, after all that, how did you wind up at Wedgemount? How did that story come to be?
Wedgemount was created in August of 2020. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, we had founded some previous resource companies in the junior mining space, and we'd had some really positive experiences, and we had some challenging experiences. But the big reason why we decided to do it now is that some high quality individuals, both from the technical side, the financial side, and the marketing side, that I had worked with in the past, um, we all kept in touch, and all of us had a bit of spare capacity to do some work together. We'd always talked about doing something new together,
Mhm.
and it just everyone kind of became a free agent at the same time and had the time and desire to work with each other again. So that was really where it started. It was about having the right people. I would have never started Wedgemount without having those individuals. And again, it's diverse set of individuals with different skill sets, but if you bring everyone together, you have a good shot. So once uh, you know I realized that everyone was available, I said, let's go ahead and let's start a new junior resource company. And also, one other thing that was key, the timing, we thought the global macro situation in particular, we saw it as being favorable to copper and gold exploration. And that's why we decided to focus in those areas. So it was really about the team. We saw the global macro situation looking pretty good. And we also have really good access to deal flow in BC, and all those, sorry, not just BC, but in Western North America, and all those coming together at the same time is why we decided to start Wedgemount.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, copper's been doing pretty well last year, and I think this trend is going to continue. I mean, the EV market's definitely going to eat it up as we get into that. But, anyways, Mark, wow. I'd say great way to start a company. It's like seemed like you brought together an all-star team. So now, tell me more about your role. Like, tell me what you do on the day to day for the company.
On the day to day of the company, I kind of do a bit of everything. We are a small company. It's not like we have a whole bunch of full time employees. So on a day to day basis, I am talking to investors, talking to potential investors. I'm doing meetings with our technical team. This year, we're doing exploration on 3 separate projects. We're in the field right now on project number 1. So I'm constantly getting updates from geos. We're planning spending budgets, what the programs are going to consist of for each of the 3 projects. So those two, talking to investors, potential investors, and internally sort of managing the exploration programs with our geos takes up a fair bit of time.
Mhm.
Another thing that what I'm doing a lot of these days is working with our First Nations partners in BC. You can't be successful in the exploration business in the province of British Columbia without engaging with First Nations partners. So
Sure.
that's something that I do not every day, but I spend a fair bit of time engaging and working with them in each of our core areas in the province.
Yeah, I mean, the First Nations relations are one of the biggest things, and if it's not something you handle, it will come back and get you at some point in time. So, interesting, man. It sounds like you wear a lot of hats there. I'd say that's what happens. You have a small team, you got to be very flexible, and it seems like you're handling that very well. Next time, we can dive deeper into the company. So, if anyone has any questions they want preemptively to answer, let us know. We'll be happy to get into it. But for now, Mark, thank you so much for coming on. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.